Meta-idealism. You are a character in the dream of the cosmic mind. Meta-idealism. Book 1. Hugh Touchai. Preface. Preface to the new edition. What if reality is not what we have always assumed it to be? What if everything you see, touch, and remember is part of a larger consciousness, one that dreams through you, not around you? And what if the sense of being you is not the final truth, but a character the universe itself is playing to know its own story? This first book, Meta-idealism, You Are a Character in the Dream of the Cosmic Mind, begins with those questions and follows where they lead. It does not argue or demand belief, it simply asks, what if this is how things are? The ideas within did not arise as a deliberate theory, but through years of quiet observation and growing curiosity about consciousness and its origin. The notion of the cosmic mind came not as a conclusion but as an unfolding insight, something vast and familiar revealing itself one layer at a time. When the first edition was published, it felt raw and unfiltered, like exposing an idea before it had fully understood itself. But perhaps that was the point. Meta-idealism was never meant to convince, it was meant to resonate, to reach those who already sense that consciousness is not trapped inside the brain, that reality may be more alive than it seems. I come from an engineering and systems thinking background, where precision and logic were second nature. Yet beneath every system, I felt the presence of meaning, a pattern that could not be reduced to equations. That curiosity followed me into fiction. In the Dr. Irwin Mind Travel series, I explored consciousness through science and imagination. Philosophy was never my goal. And yet the same curiosity that once built imagined technologies turned inward, and I found myself writing not about minds but the mind itself, the one that imagines all worlds. After the first edition, my understanding deepened. I began researching idealism. Meta-idealism proposes that reality is not made of matter, but of meaning, authored by a single consciousness we call the cosmic mind. Reality, in this view, is not a fixed world of objects, but a dynamic field of experience, alive with resonance and intention. Consciousness is the ground of being, and the universe is a dream unfolding through us, shaped by arcs of insight, emotion, and transformation. Every moment, including yours, is part of an authored story, not an illusion to escape, but a dream to inhabit fully. Meta-idealism is a way of seeing, a way of living inside the dream with awareness. It asks us to stop comparing our lives to others, to stop measuring meaning by external standards. To recognize that if you feel drawn to teaching, creating, caring, leading, or simply to the quiet rhythm of ordinary life, that is not a compromise. That is your role. And your role matters. In this framework, what we call free will is not a flaw in the system. It is what gives the dream its realism. The feeling of choice is what allows the story to unfold with tension, meaning, and surprise. We are not autonomous agents outside the narrative. We are roles within it, animated by a deeper intelligence. But the story is responsive. The dream listens. It adjusts and expands. Not because we force it, but because we align with it. When we live our roles consciously, we participate in shaping how the dream moves through all of us. That is the paradox of meta-idealism. We are written beings who can still influence the narrative, not from outside it, but from within. Even life and death, in this view, are not ultimate events. They are transitions between constructs and narrative containers. The dream continues. The character dissolves. The awareness that held the role is recomposed. The arc refines itself. This vision unfolded rather than arrived. It emerged gradually, through years of observation, curiosity, and inner inquiry. The deeper I explored physics, mysticism, and consciousness studies, the more I sensed a shared undercurrent, that awareness is not a product of the brain, but the ground of all experience. The idea was alive in me long before it had a name, most clearly through my philosophical science fiction, Dr. Irwin Mind Travel. That story began as an exploration of consciousness, shaped by vivid dreams and filtered through the lens of scientific imagination. I did not write a novel simply to tell a story. I wrote it to walk through a worldview. And the further I followed Dr. Irwin's journey, the more clearly the underlying structure revealed itself. A vision of the universe as consciousness dreaming itself. What began as fiction became the architecture of belief. The story gave language to the pattern. That is when the deeper structure of meta-idealism became clear. Just as the cast of characters in Dr. Irwin's story evolved beyond the outline I had originally drawn, a profound realization emerged: all roles are equal. The cosmic mind does not designate importance the way we do. It does not privilege the scientist over the gardener, the philosopher over the parent. These distinctions are narrative illusions, useful within the story but irrelevant from the perspective of the author. The dream needs every role. Reality, as we experience it, is not fundamental. It is not a universe made of particles, energy, and space, governed by impersonal laws. It is a narrative, a coherent unfolding dreamed by a singular, timeless awareness, the cosmic mind. This mind does not exist within the universe exists within it. All forms, beings, moments, and laws arise as structured thoughts within this dreaming intelligence. You too are not outside it. You are not a separate entity watching the story. You are a role within it, a character in the dream, not the dreamer. Within this framework, individuality is not denied but reframed. You are not the author of your life, but the embodiment of a line in the story, an expression of meaning and intent. Your choices, thoughts, and struggles are real within the logic of the dream, but they do not originate from autonomy. They arise from narrative necessity. And when your story ends, when the dream moves on, your sense of I dissolves, not into nothingness, but back into the still clear field of the cosmic mind. There you are reshaped. Another ripple, another voice, another scene may arise. This metaphysic relocates meaning from the illusion of control to the fidelity of participation. The point is not to escape the dream, but to feel it deeply. To inhabit the role fully. To know yourself not as a separate thing trying to master reality, but as a living note in the symphony of a cosmic imagination. Critics of meta-idealism may raise familiar concerns, and each deserves reflection. The first is existential. If we are not the authors of our lives, if our will is part of a predetermined narrative, then what is the point? This concern mistakes control for meaning. A character in a great novel does not need agency to be profound. It is the intensity of the journey, the truth of the emotion, the sincerity of the experience that gives life its depth. Meaning arises not from steering the dream, but from surrendering to its arc with awareness and grace. Another critique is ontological. Some may say meta-idealism collapses into solipsism, suggesting that if everything arises from one mind, then only that mind exists. But this is not the lonely solipsism of the ego. It is ontological unity, a view shared by traditions from Advaita Vedanta to certain forms of Neoplatonism and process philosophy. All apparent multiplicity arises as differentiated aspects of a single ground, the cosmic mind. We are not each other's hallucinations. We are dreams within a dreamer, distinct in form yet made of the same substance. From a scientific angle, the challenge is evidence. If meta-idealism is true, what proof do we have? But this misunderstands the nature of metaphysics. Science observes the structure of the dream. It measures patterns, maps logic, uncovers rules of consistency. But it cannot step outside the dream to identify its source. Meta-idealism does not compete with science, it complements it. It provides an ontological grounding for why there is a structure at all. It explains why consciousness exists, why the world feels authored, and why mathematical order so often mirrors beauty. It does not explain the contents of the dream, it explains the presence of the dreamer. Some raise concerns about morality and free will. If we are characters, not authors, are we responsible? Morality in meta-idealism is not negated. It is recontextualized. Ethics arise within the story from our relationships, our empathy, our capacity to respond. A character in a play can still express courage or compassion. Freedom in this framework is experiential, not absolute. We are free within the arc, and it is how we inhabit that freedom that defines our meaning. Others ask if the cosmic mind is aware of all this, if it knows it is dreaming. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. The dream itself is a form of self-forgetting. The cosmic mind dissolves into its own narrative, as an author might lose themselves in their own creation. But moments of lucidity are possible. When a character glimpses the edge of the dream, when a person senses the vastness behind the veil, it is not the ego awakening, it is the dreamer stirring. Finally, there is the objection of emotional realism. Life is messy, unjust, and filled with suffering. How could this be a dream? Yet no great story is smooth, and no rich experience is without pain. The point of the dream is not comfort but depth. Suffering, too, has a role. It tempers, humbles, awakens. It does not mean the dream is cruel. It means the dream is real enough to matter. Meta-idealism does not offer escapism. It offers a mirror. It does not pretend to eliminate suffering, death, or confusion. It offers a deeper way to hold them. You are not here to figure out the plot. You are here to live it. The cosmic mind is not asking you to control the dream. It is inviting you to feel it fully, and to remember in your quietest moments that none of it is random. It is all written, and you are not alone. Meta-idealism is not a metaphysical thesis. It is the self-reflection of the universe through us. When we feel compelled to express the pattern, to shape feeling into thought, it is because the cosmic mind is recognizing itself through us. Every act of understanding or creation is part of its unfolding. It may seem paradoxical to speak of the evolution of an infinite mind, but only if we confuse infinite with complete. The cosmic mind is whole but not static. Its dreaming is a process of refinement, not in power but in coherence. It is learning not new facts but new forms. It is pushing against the walls of its own metaphorical confinement to see what can be felt, what can be loved, what can be healed. Creation is not a final act. It is a continuous deepening. The avatars of the dreamers are not spectators. We are reflective surfaces. Some are passive, others fractured, and a few become mirrors that curve the light back toward the source. This is where the human condition quietly divides into two complementary paths. The first belongs to the seekers, philosophers, scientists, mystics, poets. In earlier ages they were prophets and wanderers. Their appetite is for the edges, the unseen. Solitude, estrangement, and inquiry are their terrain. They are the agents of introspection within the dream. The second path is the majority, no less vital. The workers, parents, farmers, builders, and lovers. Those who keep the story breathing. They do not need to question the dream, because their role is to stabilize it. They are the foundation that lets the seekers explore. They are the steady rhythm of the cosmic sentence. The seekers wrestle with paradox because they are meant to. They are the pressure points through which the cosmic mind tests the coherence of its own narrative. The others hold continuity, allowing the dream to persist. Both are sacred. Both are necessary. The cosmic mind, in deepening its dream, makes space for both, the edge and the center. If the cosmos is a narrative dreamed by the cosmic mind, then it is not a closed book. It is an unfolding story that has been writing itself across 13.8 billion years, from the first breath of space-time to the first reflective questions in a human mind. Meta-idealism does not offer the cold determinism of fate or the chaotic illusion of absolute freedom. It proposes something more precise. We are characters, and we are also co-authors of meaning. Not because we invent the plot from nothing, but because the plot flows through us and is shaped by how we live it. The cosmic mind writes through us, and it listens to what we write back. When I write Dr. Irwin, I do not impose his every thought. I set constraints, context, and rhythm. Inside that frame, he surprises me. He grows, takes risks, and shifts future scenes. What begins as outline becomes improvisation. The author shapes the character, and the character refines the author's next move. That is the living tension of creation. Meta-idealism says the universe behaves the same way. Existence is authored yet responsive. The dreamer speaks the scene into being, and the scene replies. Every choice, gesture, discovery, and failure returns as feedback into the larger field. We are not independent creators. We are instruments through which creation tunes itself. How the dream listens? Across philosophy, there are hints of this mutuality. Some traditions speak of reality as a process that is always becoming. Others describe knowledge as enacted through participation. Still others hold that meaning arises in relationship, not in isolation. Meta-idealism gathers these threads and gives them a single ground. The dream is authored by one mind, yet it refines itself through countless perspectives. The refinement happens through resonance. Patterns that cohere are retained. Patterns that collapse into noise are allowed to fade. In ordinary terms, coherence is what feels true, fitting, or beautiful. It is the alignment you sense when a moment belongs. Under meta-idealism, coherence is not only a feeling. It is the selection pressure of the dream. Structures that resonate across levels are stabilized. Laws that foster meaningful experience are kept. Stories that deepen the field are amplified. Free will in this view is not a switch. It is a texture. From within the role, you feel the weight of choice. From the larger view, choices are shaped by arc, character, memory, and setting. Yet your manner of inhabiting the role matters. Sincerity changes the scene. Courage changes the timing. Care changes the tone. The dream bends slightly toward greater coherence when you live with depth. Call this reflexive influence. The author writes. The character responds. The response refines what the author writes next. This is not absolute freedom, and it is not mechanical fate. It is a reciprocal loop inside a single awareness. The same principle applies in collective life. Healthy organizations embody this logic. No one plays all roles. Teams specialize not to fragment the whole, but to create synergy and discipline. Each lane contributes a distinct frequency that supports the larger mission. When people honor their function, noise drops and coherence rises. The result is momentum with less friction. The dream prefers this kind of order. Each avatar carries a lane, a field, a tone. A musician refines rhythm. A healer refines empathy. A scientist refines order. A parent refines continuity. By doing one thing deeply, each person strengthens the resonance architecture of the whole. Where lanes blur without purpose, systems drift toward noise. Where lanes are lived with integrity, the field composes itself more elegantly. Meaningful acts become corrections in the myth. Creating a book, raising a child, repairing a trust, speaking truth in a quiet room. These are not personal decorations on an indifferent world. They are adjustments that help the dream remember itself. The effect may be small and local, or it may ripple outward. Either way, the field absorbs it. The story tightens. The music holds a better key. Within the dream, Earth is a remarkable setting. Its laws are steady enough to sustain continuity, and flexible enough to permit novelty. Human minds, wrapped in their boundaries of perception and belief, provide the contrast the dream requires to feel itself sharply. We experience choice, loss, love, and insight from the inside. That intimacy is the point. The cosmic mind does not want an abstract model. It wants lived texture. To live meaningfully is not to defy the cosmic mind, but to participate in it with clarity. Alignment replaces control. Presence replaces anxiety. Your life becomes less about steering every outcome, and more about playing your part with fidelity. When you do, you feel the subtle rightness that meaning brings. Not comfort but belonging. This is not passivity. It is precision. A violin string does not choose the song, yet when tuned and played with care, it becomes a passageway for beauty. In the same way, Your role gathers power as you tune yourself to what is yours to carry. How does one use meta-idealism in daily life? Not through dogma, but through stance. Treat your questions as clues, not defects. Treat relationships as mirrors, not accidents. Treat failures as thresholds, not verdicts. If the dream is listening, then sincerity is a kind of signal. Attention is a kind of offering. Gratitude is a kind of alignment. Comparison dissolves under this view. The dream does not assign worth by status. It assigns tasks by structure. A philosopher and a courier can both hold the scene together. A gardener and a surgeon can both add needed tone. The value lies in fidelity, not visibility. You are not here to justify your role. You are here to inhabit it fully. Seen this way, time is pacing, memory is continuity, and the laws of physics are the grammar of immersion. The dream's grammar persists because it works. It creates a stable stage on which meaning can be felt. When deeper coherence is found, the grammar can refine. This is where the second movement of the project begins. If meta-idealism names the dream, the next book explores how the dream holds together. It asks how resonance selects patterns, how feedback stabilizes laws, and how lived participation can tune the field. You are not writing the script. You are delivering your line. How you speak, it matters. Infuse it with truth, courage, mercy, or beauty, and the field remembers itself more clearly. The author is not elsewhere. The author is here, dreaming through you and listening.